We're all pretty big bodies around here, and you're not feeling it. Yes, we do.
He's got a shirt buttoned up to his pajamas. He's got a coat on.
He's got a coat on.
I'm really glad.
Look at this.
No.
See the state's deed restriction and whatever declaration. I don't know what declaration he's referring to. Figure it out another time. Let's go live.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good? All right, at this time, we'll call this meeting to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee DeBoer is excused this evening. Trustee Trutchell?
Here.
Pfeiffer?
Here.
Still?
Here.
Trustee Walschlager? Here. Connor?
Here.
Alquist?
Here.
At this time, if you'd all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Trustee Pfeiffer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, if anybody would like to speak in public comments, feel free to step towards the podium and speak. Do we have anybody on Zoom?
No.
Anybody in the room that wants to speak? Not. Oh, you can speak for public comments, but not your issue. You can go now. All right. The first item on our agenda is consideration of village board minutes from the September 23rd, 2024 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve village board minutes of September 23rd, 2024.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Any discussion?
Yes, on item 7, discussion regarding the marsh, I would like my comments on that included in the notes. Was she, I have already given that to her.
So I will review the video and add Trustee Walschlager's comments for that item.
Thank you. That's it.
Do we want that to come back, or do we want to just have staff take care of it? So that you're voting on something, you can see the words.
Do you
on
want
the
me to
minutes.
say what,
Well, they can always include them in the next one, or we can just approve them now, either or. I'm just saying in case anybody voted.
it was
wanted
as
see
to
them.
why I voted no? Okay.
Good.
I'll amend my, to approve the minutes with
Okay.
the adjustment that we don't have to bring it back to the board.
Sure.
That's a second on
Yep.
that then.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we have items related to vouchers. We have the consideration of Hartbrook Park Pedestrian Bridge Project Closeout. This is to Zenith Tech, Inc. The request is for final payment of $7,373.42.
So if you remember, Hartbrook, the bridge that we put in there, last year, this is just the final payment for that. This is just the retainage that we held over them for that.
Okay.
So, staff recommends a payment of $7,373.42 to Zenith Tech, Inc.
I'll make a motion, we approve the payment to Zenith Tech for $7,373.42.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve that final payment to Zenith Tech. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we have a consideration of a contractor request for payment number 2. This is for State Highway 83 Water Main Rehabilitation. It's to MidCity Corporation in the amount of $349,837.50.
So MidCity Corporation is looking for a secondary payment on Highway 83 Water Main Rehab project. They are steadily working on that. They're just kind of waiting on the lining contractor at this point. They have most of the wells and everything put in for dewatering of the project. It's just waiting on that Michael's to come in and do the lining at this point. So staff recommends a payment of $349,837.50 to MidCity Corporation.
I'll make a motion then to approve the second payment to State Highway 83 Water Main Rehabilitation, MidCity Corp., in the amount of $349,837.50.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve that payment to MidCity Corp. In the amount of $349,837.50. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we have a consideration of vouchers for payments in the amount of $1,227,653.93.
I'll make a motion to approve the checks, wires, all the vouchers for $1,227,653.93.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the vouchers for payments. Any discussion?
I have one question. In fact, Sarah's here, and my question revolves the pickleball tournament coordinator. I thought that was donated time.
No, that's coming out of the expense, or the revenues that came in for that event. Everybody that supported that event was one of my pickleball volunteers from our program.
Okay, understood.
I just have a question as well. Just clarification on page 6, the fourth entry down, it says Kelsey dance classes for August and September. The cost was $29,898.
Yep, so TTP Dance runs a 30-week program, so it's like in line with the school year. So in August, their students enroll for the program, and they have what seems like a pretty significant payout here in October. But that is, again, for payment for a 30-week dance program.
Thought maybe it was going Dancing with the Stars here or something.
Well,
Can Rick get his money back? Because I've seen him dance.
Anybody else? Vouchers, correct. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we have actions that are related to licenses and permits. We have consideration of a special event application for Hartland Lights on December 6, 2024, along with the consideration of village expenditure of $1,000 for horse carriage rides.
so this event is going to look really similar to last year. There are a couple of changes. The bid has found some sponsors for a drone show that's going to take place this year. And we would have the same road closures that we've had in the past and similar activities as well in the downtown area. We are also asking for the $1,000 for the horse carriage rides around town. I am seeking a sponsor for that and have a few people in the works. But in the event that I can't secure the full $1,000, just asking the village to support those carriage rides for this year. Yeah.
I would make a motion that we approve the special events application for Hartland Lights for December 6th, and that we approve the village expenditure of up to $1,000 for whatever is not gotten in donation for the
Second.
carriage rides.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Hartland Lights on December 6th and the village expenditure of $1,000 for horse carriage rides. Any discussion?
Mr. President, if I could just make a quick comment on this one. Is Kristen here? No. The only thing I had a quick question on that we haven't got confirmation on yet is with the drone show, it sounds like there may be a request to close Nixon Park. So that would obviously be a consideration for this permit because they need it for a safe landing zone in case I think those drones unexpectedly come down. They need them to come down. And then just confirmation on what that road closure looks like. As you recall, without the drone show, we closed that area over by the 5 Points where the tree is. We close that area during the caroling, and once the tree gets lit, then the crowd quickly disperses. So we don't really have a crowd. They're going through the downtown business area. So we typically open that up. I just need to know for staffing purposes, do we need to keep it closed the whole time due to the drone show? But if the drone show's at the park, doesn't make sense to have those. So those are just some things I was waiting on, information-wise from the bid that may be of consideration to the board as well.
Has there been staff meetings going on with the bid at all on these items?
Nope. There about.
Yep.
Well,
There's been email communication, so, and all of the department heads are included in those emails. We've been going back and forth, and Torrin has posed his questions in those emails to Kristen.
but they have not responded?
But the latest email was,
Oh.
my email confirming, because this is all like rapidly happening as they're learning information through this new drone show as they're trying to get this going. So our last update was October 9th, and then I followed up with a question on October 10th, and I haven't heard back regarding, do we need that whole road closed? And it does sound like she is looking to have the park closed.
So the whole park and the road?
Not sure about the road, because now that that's in the park, because I think originally they wanted to do it up by the tree lighting, but I don't think the drone operator is able to have the show there, because they need that safe landing zone. And that safe landing zone is fairly large. It's basically the whole entire park.
So my understanding is the drones are gonna go up in the air and you're gonna watch them from downtown while they're up. So people aren't gonna be going to Nixon for that drone show. People will be staying downtown to watch the
Right.
drone show that will be going over.
I think we really need to postpone this until we have someone here that can answer these and we get it solidified.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of logistics here, and if we're gonna approve thing, it'd be nice to know what we're approving versus having to come back and amend something, and we got time.
We
obviously,
have
for
it
the
set
next-
up for the road closure for the entire time, so I can always scale it back. Obviously, I can't always make it go longer if I don't have the staff here for that. And we can make that work, but I just gotta know what we're looking at 100%.
So in my conversation with Kristen, she said they don't and are not asking for the roads to be closed. That is us. So what would you like? Cause she said she doesn't care if they are closed or open.
Then we can leave them open. I mean, if they're not in a drop zone,
Yeah,
In general, for the whole event, they don't care if it's open or closed.
plus the road there.
We want them closed. That's why her comment on here said PD usually closes during tree lighting. They don't care if it's open or closed. We request it be closed because there's people in the road. And then once it disperses, we open up. But with the drone show, I'm guessing people are gonna wanna sit in the road and watch it, but I don't know.
and the hard part of that is where do they wanna sit?
Yeah, how you gonna
by the
see-
tree,
how
or
can
do
you
they
see it?
wanna
Right.
sit by the VFW?
Those drones go probably a couple thousand feet in the air. Like I
Be able
don't,
to see them.
Oh, God, yeah.
You'll be able to see them.
people will see them for miles beyond Hartland.
Don't you think though, instead of us guessing, that
That's fine.
we should postpone it until we get the,
If that was the correspondence though, then that answers that question, for me at least. If it's gonna be initially, they wanted it to kind of take place at that tree lighting, so we thought that crowd was gonna still be there. If I have a crowd like that, my recommendation always to the board is gonna be, we need to shut the road down for public safety.
She was notified to attend.
But
I
if
hear,
we-
I hear what the chief is saying, though. What chief is saying is, if it was during the tree lighting, everybody would be there waiting for the tree to go on, and they'd be looking up at the drone show. Now everybody's dispersed, and it's gonna be like a fireworks show on the back parking lot of, AmFam Field, because everyone's just gonna leave, and then they'll go watch the fireworks from there. They're not gonna stay in the stadium, even though you can see them.
Well, and they're,
They'll just walk over there and be like, oh, yeah, let's go over there, and then they'll probably wonder if the beer garden's open.
well, I don't know that you'll get a good view of it from there, because it's one of those where you're looking straight up. But yeah, they're trying to keep people in the downtown for the whole event because people go to the tree lighting and leave. So that's why they did this, to transport all the businesses downtown. Again, she was notified to be here. She's not on Zoom or in person, so I would have no issue. The only thing I would like somewhat of approval for is Sarah needs to make a decision on those horses. And if we postpone,
With,
That-
with that information too that she had relayed, I think what my course of action would be is I'd keep my staff in place. And with this being year one of the drone show, my concern is that downtown area does get crowded and potentially into the roadways. So we'd be ready to shut the road down then in that case, as long as the board approved that road closure if needed.
my fear with the drone show is that people are going to want to watch it from the road. People aren't going to sit at the sidewalk in front of beer snobs where you can't see it. They're all going to kind of want to back up to Hill Street into that main intersection. So
Agree. What time does the drone show start?
I mean, this isn't, it's never really been that much of an issue, but this is a complete change. And I mean, I want to work with the bid and that kind of thing, but I mean, even whether it's when Chamber of Commerce comes forward and they're doing the street dance, you guys, I know that staff and PD and fire and DPW, you know, everybody sits down and has multiple meetings. And I do agree with Trustee Walschlager and Trustee Connor. I mean, this is a lot to go after with just being like, well, I'm not really sure. I think that staff should bring this back forward, considering that staff that's taking care of it, even though it's not staff's event, staff is bringing it forward, asking for the funds for horses, that kind of thing. I think once staff 100% can present to the board saying this is what's going on, I think then, or the bid, one
I
or
was
the
going to say,
other. but
I'm not putting that on us. The bid has been notified to be here. So
I
if
just-
we
we
don't
can't vote
vote, we
on it.
just won't do the horses. And that aspect of it is fine.
You can separate them. I'm simply saying there's way too many.
They're separate.
Yeah, I'm fine with
I
separating.
put
No,
them
that's
as
what I
one,
said.
so I can amend my motion.
Yes.
I guess the confusion is, Kristen doesn't care if we close the road or not. So, yeah, she should be here, I agree with that, but if she kept it her way, the roads would stay open. It's our requirement to close the roads.
Well, I mean, there's a bunch of people in the bid. I mean, if she couldn't be here, the president could be here. If the president couldn't be here, someone else that always tries to say what flowers are in the village could be here. I mean, there's plenty of people that could be here. There's a lot of people in the bid.
Yeah, and everything other than the drone show is new to the event, so we're ready for the carriages, we're ready for the tree lighting like always. The only new piece of this is the drone show. I was just trying to get my head wrapped around what she felt the impact to our area was and what we needed to do to keep it safe. I have no contact with this drone operator group or any of that, so I just kind of waiting for her to answer those questions as they come up.
Well, I think then what makes the most sense is I'll amend my motion, and what I'll do is I'll make a motion that we move the consideration for the special events permit application for Hartland Lights to the next board meeting, and we approve up to $1,000 for the horse carriage rides for Sarah, so she can move forward with that process.
And I'll amend that second. To second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the funds being expended for what is typically the Hartland Lights if they go on, but there's still moving parts with that, but expending the money if that ends up going forward so that they can, if she doesn't get a donor, that can be paid for by village funds. But to clarify, just so I'm understanding the motion correctly, this is simply for that only. This isn't even clarifying, saying that everything for Hartland Lights still has to get figured out and be brought forward, other than the fact that we'll have some horses that may or may not be trotting around, but they'll be paid for in here.
Postponing,
Postpone to
correct?
the next meeting.
Okay.
I would say postponing is a good idea,
Yes.
because it's gotta come back to the board with way more information, so I don't even wanna say table, cause that's like, oh, we're gonna have the same information and then we're gonna decide on something. Or we can just not vote on it. We just pass the motion, staff can bring it back forward, or bid can get it on the agenda and bring it back forward to us with all the info. Either way works. I think I called it out, right? All in favor of the horses?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That part is done. Staff, I just think there's more. Do you agree, Torin? Chief? I mean, there's just moving parts, and I think that when it does come to the board, especially even like when we're in the public setting like this, to be able to vote on it, you know, usually we have these things really locked in when we vote on them. It's just leaving a lot of logistics. You know, the wall that heals, I know was bigger than maybe Hartland Lights, but all these things, there was meetings that were had, and I think that a couple meetings might be beneficial.
Yeah, like I said.
Even if it's with the president or something.
Yeah, I also feel that the chief should be meeting up with the guy with the drones, like I said.
I agree.
He's got safety concerns that he's gonna ask that maybe she can't or won't think of, so might as well hook the two people up, and then when he says he's comfortable, then we're good to go.
I agree 100%. You know, if the wind is 20 miles an hour that day, I mean, you want to know how far these things can move and fall. I mean, it's
Yeah.
something to take into consideration.
I mean, I definitely think their plan looked solid. I don't doubt their plan. It did require closing the park, obviously, as a piece of it, which the board would have to approve. But my concern is the drones are about to lift off and they're like, now all of a sudden I'm being told we need to shut down all of downtown. I can't just make officers appear out of thin air. I got to know those things. I got to staff it. I got to have things in place. And as you know how we do business when crowds are in roads, we're doing it so we're securing that area, not just putting a barricade up or a police officer with a traffic vest on. We're trying to make sure it's secure for that large crowd gathering. So I just don't know what that 100% looks like. If it's just people walking down the sidewalk and they're good with that, then God bless them. But what I don't want is all of a sudden there's an expectation I was supposed to do something but never told to do it. And I just haven't got clarification on that yet.
Thank you, Chief. Now we have consideration of a special events application by American Creed Pack. This is for an event at Nixon Park, October 17th, 2024. Yeah. Mr. DeBoer.
Hello, everybody. I'm Trevor DeBoer. I'm going to be hosting, or I'd like to host a event at Nixon Park. I know this is a short notice. We're going to do a tribute to law enforcement, first responders, and military members, followed by a Get Out the Vote rally. We're planning on doing the beer garden and multiple speakers, and there'll be other organizations there as well. And again, I know this is short notice. There was some administrative stuff I had to take care of, and obviously having a Get Out the Vote rally past 2 weeks from now is going to be too late. So with the board's consideration, I'd like to host this event on October 17th. It'll be from 5:30 to 8:30. We'll probably be there a little bit earlier to set up, and then so.
Park bathrooms? Is everything off?
No. They're keeping that open for pumpkin in the park, which is.
So, yeah, so
Saturday.
because of the pumpkin party in the park,
We'll have, I just want to make sure we'll
Yeah.
have bathrooms with the beer.
they're gonna
garden.
be open.
What do you want to use?
The stage and the that area around there.
Yep, that's gonna be open,
I don't know.
the 17th.
Did you say the beer garden's gonna be open?
Yes.
Okay.
Could you say again, I didn't see anything on here about first responders or what are you gonna do the first part? You said
The first part is a tribute to first responders, law enforcement. We're just got, the invitations are going out to quite a few law enforcement and fire members. We're going to do a national anthem, just to tribute to them. So we have one of our local Hartland people, or someone from Hartland's going to be doing the national anthem. So, yeah. And I'm hoping to get some bagpipes. So.
I just want to make this clear to everyone that I have no problem with this function. However, obviously, at the above of this application, it says 60 days prior to your event, and it was received on the 8th, so that's 10 days. Secondly, all the department heads usually sign off on this, and no one has signed off on it, with the exception of Sandy, and that's because she received it. So my procedural question is, are we setting ourselves up for a precedent of future special events where they don't need to do the 60 days. And no offense, Trevor, but I'm just saying that if we do that, then who's to say they even have to come to the village? They may just show up and do something because, you know, we're waiving the 60 days. So, you know, we have the 60 days for a reason, so that the department heads can review it and say pro or con, or throw out ideas or whatever. So, you know, I don't know, does this need security? I don't know. I don't know who's all coming. So I'm just throwing that out there just to get your opinions.
The application was scanned last week. It is possible, you know, with the packet, so it's possible that more department heads have signed off on it. Has PD and fire, okay.
Department has signed off on
Okay,
that.
okay.
But I think in order to get it on the packet, by the time it got in and got out, we had not seen it yet because it had to go out with the packet in advance.
The only other item I asked, what about the insurance requirement, the $1 million we require for the special events? What is the outcome of that?
That's another group.
Yeah, I'll have to, if that's a requirement, we'll have to,
It generally has, just because if something happens in the park, that $1 million insurance, though it may not be a ton, has always been, it's the same thing we do with road paving, anything like that, they have to have liability insurance because it is your event. Something happens at the event without that insurance, it's 100% on the village. That's your guys' call again. At this point, it's,
Well, I think it's necessary.
Tom, did you guys look at this? Did you sign off on this yet?
Yeah, I was out last week, but I did look at that today. Then my only question he answered is, was this beer garden gonna be open? Cause bathrooms were a consideration for me, but, he answered that I did sign off on that today too, so.
Chief Jamberts, you signed off on that as well?
Yes.
Yeah, regarding the meeting, and people can meet in the park, but if you start doing amplified music and you start doing speakers and stuff like that, then, or if the beer garden's open, obviously, then that's where it starts to be, you know.
Trev, when was this kind of put together or thought of, I guess?
The process started actually a couple months ago. There was a lot of administrative stuff I had to put together, personally, and time was, kind of biting me in the butt, but, that was one of the things I had seen on there too, probably have to look at, and if need be, I can continue to do that tomorrow. But, yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, obviously. I've got speakers coming in and then a whole host of, law enforcement personnel potentially coming in.
It's already been committed, I mean, for the most part?
For the most part, yeah, especially with the short notice, the speakers were the big thing, so.
Will you be able to get the insurance?
I should be able to, yeah.
Chief, am I right, just so that I'm, for clarity, let's say if it did get denied, am I wrong that if the people still wanted to gather, but they weren't gonna have amplified music, that they would still, that's not breaking any law, right? Like, this would open up the gates to the stage, because that's what's being rented. But, so those gates aren't open, but if someone stands there and they just go off of their volume and 200 people come to listen to them talk, or multiple people talk, and they're waving flags and they're standing there, even though there's not a special events permit, if they're not causing any problem and they're just there listening to speakers, I mean, that would be a peaceful assembly, correct?
Yeah, I mean,
In a public space?
people come in groups to the park all the time without permits. That's not the issue. I think the issue is the use of the facilities is
Oh, I agree,
the
I agree.
request.
Especially when you start getting into the beer, I'm just saying, I mean, if, worst case scenario, if something happened where the vote went down, if someone's lining something up, he would still be able to somewhat have an assembly there. without the amplified music and stuff, or amplified voices, stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't, on its face, I don't see any issues with that. People could be in the park as long as it's within the park rules. I think the only issue there would be is, obviously, he wants to use those facilities. That would come at the approval of the village board for that special event.
And the amplified, having amplified sound is probably gonna be essential for this
Oh, sure.
particular.
I was simply saying, it's not the event, it's not the people
Right.
being there, it's the other certain logistics that are going along with it, is what I was kind of like saying.
Insurance, all I think we're saying is just, it'd be nice to have.
Yep.
I think it's essential to have it.
I would say, put the, what is the word?
Contingent?
It's contingent on, yeah.
I can provide that to the village, tomorrow or Wednesday.
I mean, the only question I have too is what,
My name's Tim.
but Tim brought up about setting a precedence. I mean, how do we address that? Because I did have somebody in the past that wanted something and it was short notice and this was a little bit time back, but I just told them that they had to follow it. If they couldn't, change the date. So that was my only concern is moving forward. I mean, I'm more concerned about the liability at this point. I think that's a huge factor, that we're setting a precedent then for, that you don't need liability. And I don't think how we can do any event without at least covering ourselves.
And maybe we need to change the policy from 60 days to 30 days. If that's,
Right.
60 days is too much. I don't know.
Again, I think the 60 days when there's more staff involvement or staff requirements, this event is pretty low. It's not closing downtown Hartland. We're requiring you to go talk to their neighbors, things of that nature. This is in the park, a park that's closed, essentially closed. It's open, but it's not
I
And
think
should we have a
the,
totally different document? Because you can't say, well, it says 60 days, but because this is a big event, we're not gonna go by that.
No,
That doesn't-
I'm stating that I think there is some validity to the 60-day thing, but
Oh,
there are
yes.
some events where when the
Absolutely.
road's not closed, that, in a park. Like, kinda like President Vanderstill was saying, if you wanted to bring 200 people and not do any permits, not do anything, and scream at the top of your lungs for hours, you could do it in the park. So you could bring 300 people on buses, cause kids come to the park every day. Yeah, we get buses of kids all summer that don't pay any special event permit, and they're hooting and hollering, and so. This, at least, I don't know, maybe we change it for any events at the park. I don't know.
I would just chime in and say that the benefit of having it more than 30 days is that it gives us ample time to bring it to the park board meeting, which doesn't necessarily meet every month if there aren't, pending agenda items, but that is an advisory committee that likes to know about the events that are going on in the park. So this, because of the timeline of when it came in, it did not go to the park board for October.
Really, I think we as a village board have the capability of hearing special circumstances and understanding, what the request is here, and it's a great cause to honor first responders, military vets, and the like. So, I think we can put our heads together and make a decision and see if it's supported by all. I like it. I'd make a motion that we approve the request by Trevor DeBoer for this event pending verification of liability insurance.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the gathering at Nixon Park for Thursday night, which is October 17th.
17th.
17th, pending insurance, proof of insurance for $1 million.
Yeah, naming us as
Naming the village. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
So that's carried. You will have to get that insurance, otherwise it won't. Well, you'll have to talk with Sarah, I'll let you know who will open up that gate, I think, that or DPW on the stage.
Again, I apologize for the short notice. I'd like to do some more of these type of events, and we'll get better at it. So, thanks for your support.
Thank you. Now we have a consideration of Class B combination beer liquor license for the Inn. This is at 110 Cottonwood Avenue. We have to have a public hearing for that. And after that public hearing, we'll have a consideration of actions related to the issuances of the Class B combination beer liquor license for the Inn. Anybody here to represent?
Yeah. Hi.
Aye.
We're getting hungry, by the way.
Oh, good. So, my name's Madeline Armistead. This is my husband, Matthew Armistead, and we are opening the inn.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
When?
Finally.
It's been a while.
Yeah, when? Do you have a date in mind?
The first week of December.
Okay.
Yes,
You guys are all set to go at the bar and everything?
we are.
Distributors are all set up? Or getting pretty close?
We're getting pretty close, yeah. We've spoken with plenty,
Okay.
so just trying to narrow down and.
What type, am I allowed to ask what type of food or restaurant?
Of course. So my husband here is the chef. So we have 2 wood-burning ovens. One's just strictly for pizza, and then the other one's for wood-burning, roasting fish, meat, veg. We'll have homemade pastas. He'd never tell you, but veg is a really good specialty of his, so.
I've cooked a lot of Mediterranean, Italian style food, so that's going to be the influence, but we're going to use the wood ovens as the focal point of the restaurant and the overall style of the food. Yeah. So I was in...
You got a whole area waiting
I
to
know.
see this place.
I'm from the UK originally.
I
trained in London, and then I've been in California for the last...
Okay.
Maddie and I met in California. I was there for 12 years. We came here during COVID, and we've been working on this project since COVID, basically.
I grew
trying to
up
get this
out here, yeah.
place open, yeah. Maddie's from...
So I'm dragged him to
me over,
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been a long time.
Been a long time.
Yeah.
19,
Yeah.
June 30th.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We're excited.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, we are as well, yeah.
Thank you, yeah, we are
Look forward
too.
to see you all there.
So,
Addition to the
So
community.
what we'll do is we gotta open the public hearing, unfortunately. We gotta open the public hearing for the public to come and speak on, regarding the, Class B liquor license. Anybody here that wants to speak on the Class B liquor you got that I'm opening the public hearing. Anybody want to speak regarding the Class B liquor license? Last call. Closed. Now, if anybody wants to make a motion or ask any other questions of the presenters, they can. And then we do need to have a consideration so that they can get their permit if it is approved by the board.
I just want to ask Sandy, is this this is a reserve license?
Yes, this will be a reserve license.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the Class B combination beer liquor license for the Inn, 110 Cottonwood Avenue.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the liquor license for the Class B liquor license for the Inn. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Thank
Great,
you.
thank
We're
you.
looking
Thank
forward
you.
to it.
Yeah, thanks.
We can't wait.
Looking forward to it.
We'll all be there at the door. Now we have a consideration of operators, bartenders licenses. The first one we have is for Mary Beth Peterson for working at Triangle Tap. Are they here?
Mary's not.
So, Mary Beth Pedersen was not invited, but it does, come to the board for review when there is, something on their background check that comes up. So that is why that is before you today.
Chief?
I believe that application had some older operating while intoxicated offenses. Therefore, the policy of the village was the clerk wouldn't just automatically sign off on that information would come to the board. I did sign that background that although those were relevant, they were infrequent and then they were old. There was many years in between now and when those had occurred. So I did sign off as approving that background from a police department perspective.
Oh, with Chief's blessing, I'd make a motion that we approve Mary Beth Pedersen for the Triangle Tap bartender's license.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the liquor license, I'm sorry, the bartender's operator's license for Mary Peterson. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we have a bartender operator license, or consideration of a operator bartender license for Linda Maroney, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. That is on the list also, so I will ask Chief.
This one also comes to the village board because there is a history of some operating while intoxicated convictions. You will see that most of these do have some time between now and when they had occurred, but due to the nature of one in particular, and then to an offense after that particular offense, it's a little more recent. Definitely wanted the village board to take a full look at this. And then obviously hear from the applicant with any relevant information. As you saw, the memo dated October 8th, it states that Linda Maroney applied for an operator license at the Triangle Tap. Maroney's criminal history consists of the following 4 operating while intoxicated convictions. She had a first offense conviction on September 10th of 1990, a second offense of May 6, 1992. There was a third offense, which included homicide by intoxicated use of a vehicle, which is a felony charge. That was August 17th of 1995. And then after that, there was a fourth offense, the more recent of them, May 11th, 2016. On the application, it states here in the memo, Maroney only disclosed her homicide by intoxicated use of a vehicle as a felony conviction, but failed to disclose the other 3 convictions as asked about in the application. And then a review of Maroney's OWI convictions will need to be made to determine if the past alcohol-connected convictions substantially relate to the responsibilities that she will carry out if she is granted an operator license in Hartland. And what from the applicant presents at her appearance before the village board in the passage of time, has there been a satisfactory demonstration that the safety of the public in Hartland is not likely to be compromised if this applicant is granted an operator license. Why I did not sign off as a recommendation of approval on the application was obviously that third offense carried a pretty significant charge with it, where we had a homicide by intoxicated use of a vehicle. And then 21 years later, unfortunately, we still had another operating while intoxicated when there was a prior one that included a fatality. So I wanted to make sure that was brought up to the board, and I wanted to make sure that was something that wouldn't happen here in Hartland. And we'd like to hear from the applicant, or I would ask, I guess, that the board hear from the applicant as to why she should be granted this application with some of that history and decision-making. I don't know from the police reports, because some of these are dated, fairly old. A lot of record management systems do not have access to those reports, so I don't know if they were related to any type of bartender work or not offhand. The only thing I do have is that fourth offense was out of the town of Oconomowoc, and the end blood alcohol concentration was a 0.180 per their police report.
The applicant want to speak? It's up to you. You don't have to. want to just say why you're, obviously after what Chief has said,
Oh,
you're
yeah,
basically
I-
asking the board on why you would think that you would, you're saying why you think that the board should vote in approval that you should get your bartender's operator's license.
in Hartland. I've been bartending around the area for over 20 years at multiple locations. I've never had a problem with that in the past. I mean, the accident with the felony, that was 32 years ago, and I relive it a lot. You know, it's not something I'm gonna cause somebody else to do, kind of thing. That's not a concern for Hartland. I don't know what else to say.
When did that happen?
What?
When did that happen?
That happened, December 23rd, 1993, and it was in, Waterloo. Actually, it was a little town called Hubbleton.
And I understand it
after
would be a
my-
stressful situation for you, I just have to ask, you were saying that there's absolutely no concern that you would ever allow somebody else to put themselves in a
No,
position
God, no.
where they would drive
No,
like that, so
I,
why would you
you
put yourself
know.
in a position like that to drive like that again?
Right, yeah.
No, I'm asking, you just said there was absolutely no concern that you would have anybody
No,
else
I
drive like
wouldn't,
that.
I wouldn't do that again.
And if that's the case, how come after it happened, then you got another intoxicated ticket? If it could never happen again.
It was one night I went out, I hadn't been out in ages. It was a friend's 50th birthday party, and my friends were trying to set me up with someone, and that was the only reason I went out. And I had 4 drinks, and I usually don't even go out and drink. You know, I'd rather be on the other side of the bar serving the drinks. It was stupid. I should have had somebody give me
And no,
a
and I'm
ride
not,
home.
I'm not here to make you, I don't want you to beat yourself up. I was simply going off of the fact that you said that there's absolutely no concern and no one has to be
Right, yeah,
concerned with
no,
that, but you're just saying that after you.
It's not ever gonna happen again.
yourself.
That was actually when it happened. I wasn't charged until 2016. That happened, the first Saturday in December of 2015 is when that happened.
Yeah, how many, a few months later?
Yeah, it's like nine years ago.
Oh, no, I know that.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about, I think it was. I don't have anything further.
Anybody else? Do you have any questions?
Can I just say something?
Yeah, I've been working all over.
Yeah, you can.
Okay. I'm Stacy. I own the Triangle Tap. And everyone that comes in knows that my bartenders are not allowed to do 1 drink behind the bar.
Never.
I think I'm pretty sure I'm the only bar that goes by that rule in Hartland, but I have it as a rule. If you drink, you're not working for me. It's a job, it's not a party, it's a job.
Right.
That's all I have to say.
Chief, was everything included?
Yes. Yep, that's the background, obviously, again.
Was everything included on the application?
Oh, no, like I said, there was only, the felony was only, the homicide use of vehicle was the only thing on the application, but there's obviously 3 other OWIs that weren't listed.
That's because of how I read the question. It said, do you have any felonies on your record? And that's what I answered.
Yeah, there was 2 questions. The first one you said yes to is number 6. And it says, have you ever been convicted of any alcohol beverage related offenses included any of the following as a juvenile or an adult? Number 6 is operating a motor vehicle while under the influence of alcohol or controlled substance or with a prohibited alcohol concentration under Wisconsin State Statute 346-63. That was checked yes, and then 3 questions later is, have you ever been convicted of felony? That's checked yes, and then it says, if you have answered yes to any of the above questions, list the date, nature of offense, location of the offense, city, county, and state, and then it lists those things out, as you'll see on page 2 of the application.
That was my error. I missed the any. I just was really focused on the felony. I didn't wanna.
So you were saying that you've been bartending for the last 20 years, is
Yeah.
that what you said?
Yeah.
So you don't currently hold a license?
Yeah, I have one in town of Oconomowoc.
Okay, isn't it state issued or is it village issued?
Right now, they're municipally issued, as we have traditionally done. Every municipality goes through this process and can make that determination based off their criteria, as long as it's relevant to the position.
Right.
As we've discussed in the past, the state statute says any felony, unless pardoned by the governor, should preclude them from obtaining an operator license, which you have to apply the employee statutes under state statute 111 to make sure that it's relevant to the position. So that's where that kind of changed gears a couple of years ago, where it just went from just any felony, black and white, can't have it, to now how does it relate to their position and a judgment and ability to make decisions in that capacity. It will, in short order, go to a state issue license under new rules that the state legislature passed, but no one knows what those rules are yet, or I think they're learning them as we speak. But as we sit here today, it is a local decision right now. And she does hold she provided a copy of a license from the town of Oconomowoc.
Right. And I did have Town of Merton, but I didn't renew it because I'm not working at Coots's anymore, so.
Anybody else? Based on the nature of the past, and I'm very sorry, but based on the nature of the past and the, just some of the hiccups that are on there, I'll make the motion that we deny the license.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to deny the license for Linda Maroney. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. That license has been denied. Thank you for taking the time to stand. Yes, that is a point of clarification. You can still work there. You just, someone that does have an operator's bartender's license has to be on the premise. That does not mean you cannot work there. That's a very good point. You can work there or any other bar in Hartland that you would like to. Just so you know, it's not like you cannot work at a bar or with alcohol. You just can't be the bartender operator license holder. So basically, you can't be the only one on the premise. Someone on the premise has to hold an operator bartender's license. For her?
That doesn't help her.
No, I know. I get that.
If I have to be at the bar, why wouldn't I? What's the point? Yeah, that's what I was saying, yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Now we have discussion and consideration for Wenzel Amusement Participation in Hometown Celebration 2025.
Yes. So in reference to the memo that's included in the packet, the Park and Recreation Board recommends booking Wenzel Amusements to provide a carnival at Hartland's Hometown Celebration for this coming year. Wenzel would bring in rides, games, concessions, and that would be located in the T-ball field where the kids zone was located this past year. Targeting families with children ages 5 to 12 plus. Wenzel staff would need to stay on site, bringing in 8 trailer units that require power and water. Those would easily be placed along the railroad tracks in Nixon Park, on the south side of the park. The carnival does run on a 300 kilowatt generator, which is in a 28-foot trailer. They do have a backup generator as well in a 25-foot trailer. But at night, they would require plugging in their food and ice storage, which we can provide. Near the tennis courts, we have power there. A typical contract with Wenzel and in the industry states that they would retain $20,000 in revenue from rides. This does not include concessions or games. And then would pay out per contract approximately 15% for any ride dollars earned after. I did include an approximate site map of how this could look in the park and images of the rides that we are thinking about bringing in. But But just so you know, it's not to scale yet, because that would be contingent. I'd update a map if this were to move forward. So in this map, you can kind of see, similar to how we had it set up for the kid zone, we would have our power located on the north side of the park, kind of in the tree line. Their games would be located just south of that. We also have a ride next to it that would be a bounce house, would most likely be a bounce house. That's what's represented here in the map. They do, as I mentioned in the memo, require that they bring in rides, concessions, and games. That's different from another carnival vendor that we met with, who required a minimum number of rides, and due to limited space, we couldn't accommodate that. So this is a little bit more flexible. They have more rides available than we have pictured here in the map, but because of their flexibility in accommodating us and the space that they have, we're able to kind of work with them to make this work for Hartland. Their concessions would be different from what we offer with our nonprofit food groups that come in for the hometown celebration. They would have more deep fried carnival food like corn dogs and fries and cheese curds. Funnel cake, yep. Homemade or freshly squeezed lemonade, and fountain drinks. Again, those two items, the games and the concessions, are paid in cash and are not included in that $20,000 revenue mark that they require meeting before splitting. All of the rides then would be paid with tickets that are sold by the carnival. We have, again, the rides that we are kind of looking at are ranged for the younger age group, 5 to 12, though there are height requirements for every ride that would be included. So we have some kiddie rides, like a motorcycle ride, a car ride, a spinning monkey ride, a tilt-a-whirl, a fun house, and a large slide. Those two smaller circles represent their ticket booths. And as you can see in the map, we still would have our food vendors. We still have restrooms. The goal is that this would be meeting the feedback that we received from many families that while the Kids Zone was really successful despite the weather, there was feedback that we need to do more. So this would be more, and also would eliminate some of the labor-intensive work that the Kids Zone was kind of creating, because we don't have to do anything. Basically, we don't have to pay anything. They show up and they run it. Their staff includes family. So this Wenzel is owned by a mom who's had the business, I say mom, Ann is her name. She's had the business for a long time. Her 3 grown daughters help run it, and then their children help as well. They have long-term staff that have been with Wenzel Amazements for a while. And then every year they do have some new staff that come along with them. So they would be the ones on site. So that was appealing when me and Tom and Leo met with their staff in the park a few weeks ago. Let's take a look at the memo again. So some financial remarks.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I think this would decrease the rental costs for the Kids Zone. We did bring in a third tent, and then we had some booth sections up there as well. We rented 2 inflatables. We had the rock wall. So we could see very easily that the expenses would decrease for all of those items, along with the labor that the DPW put in to set up Kids Zone and Rec, I would say as well, to get that area set up throughout the week for hometown. I think this would generate, while we would lose in the opportunity to bring in revenue from like the Kids Zone when we bring in the carnival, we would be potentially increasing our beer sales revenue, which is our revenue generator for that weekend. Because we could expand the time that we are running activities in the park. Some of the expenses that we could anticipate with the heavy equipment in that space, there very likely will be needed sod replacement. And while that would cause some labor time, it would not be as much as what we had to do to get the whole kid zone set up. A lot of that would be getting the grass in place and then giving it time to grow. Then too, if we are looking at expanding when the carnival would be open, potentially Thursday through Saturday or Thursday through Sunday or Friday through Sunday, we would be potentially looking at an additional equipment day from area rental. So while we would save a little bit, possibly decrease rental costs, we might have a little bit additional expenses for that if we are bumping out when tear down is. Typically tear down for hometown is Sunday morning before the parade. DPW spends about 3.5 hours tearing down all of the items under the tent so that we can be the first tear down for area rental that day. Last year it took about 8 hours for them to take everything down. So staff is recommending the addition of Wenzel Amazements for hometown celebration.
Yeah, and I don't think there's a guarantee of revenue with it, but the thought is get more people here. We have less expenses. It's more stuff for the kids to do. Parents are going to buy more beer, watch the kids. We're going to make more money.
This is very close to what they had when I was a kid here. I mean, it's almost the same rides. So,
I would say they do have some more thrill-seeking rides. At this time, just due to the size of them, I'm not sure if we can accommodate some of those higher, more exciting rides, but with the Tilt-A-Whirl, that's kind of a classic, and anybody can enjoy a ride on the Tilt-A-Whirl. So I just kind of wanted to play it off on the safe side, targeting the younger kids and seeing what we could do. There's potential to grow this and take some space across the entrance to the park, but we also want to be cognizant of the space we're using for our fireworks show.
That was really the only issue that the park board brought up, was a lot of people sit there for the fireworks, and that will not be available now. So they have to maybe move closer or whatever, so.
Yes.
Or we cut down all the trees, one of the two.
But as Ann mentioned, this is what we used to do a long time ago. Now, the park looks a lot different than when we had the carnival in Nixon. But I think
Probably only 2 trees in there back then, right?
there is ample space, and when you look at the aerial shot from 2 years ago when we had perfect weather for the fireworks night, there's still some space to squeeze some people in there.
Well, I can say the other nice thing too is, you know, we had thought about this a year past, and we kind of got ghosted and stuff, where if this works out, they kind of want to have this a yearly thing, so it might be a win-win for both of us.
That's a really good point. So the reason Wenzel reached out is they have an opening on this recurring weekend. So we could have a slot year after year if this works out, so, which is really nice. I mean, that's what we would hope for.
It's awesome.
We've been pushing for this to continue to grow, and it's continuing to grow, and it's been a really fun thing for our community.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with Wenzel Amazement's participation in the hometown celebration in 2025.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to move forward with Wenzel Amusements. Is it Amazements, actually?
Amazements.
I was going to correct Adam. I'm glad I didn't. Wenzel Amazements and their participation in Hometown Celebration 2025 has been presented to us and has been put forth in the packet. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Now, thank you, Wenzel Amazements.
Have a good night.
See you guys
Oh,
in a
are they
couple
them
weeks.
also?
No, that was like, they just
Yeah, I know.
wanted to leave.
We'll be there soon.
Who's up next?
You gotta go?
You?
I do. At this time, we will be taking a short recess.
No.
can't really.
You're turning red.
All right, at this time, we will come back to order after that much-needed recess. And we will go to item 5, which is Village Board second reading for proposed PUD develop. You know, I'm going to stop before that. You know, it was requested I went. This is the first time in the history of being the president that I wasn't like going on my own. It was requested. Number 5 is Village Board second reading for proposed PUD development project whose approval is being sought by Three Leaf Development on property tax key HAV 0423981056 located on Campus Drive. The Village Board will review and consider. First, we will have a public hearing to hear comments regarding the petition for rezoning from RM1 or to RM1 with the PUD agreement. And then we have proposed preliminary site and building plans for senior living, 120 units, proposed preliminary certified survey map, proposed rezoning to RM1 in conjunction with a PUD agreement for the project, proposed petition for a planned unit development, and proposed land use amendment and resolution. So again, this is a second reading. There will be a public hearing. So the second reading, basically, we will consider that done. And I will open up the public hearing on this item. So if anybody would like to speak in public hearing, can step towards the podium and they can speak. Did anybody hop on Zoom?
Nobody on Zoom.
No one's on Zoom. So we just have what's in the room here. Anybody want to jump at that microphone and the podium? Public hearing's closed.
So again, this is just the second reading. This will come to the Plan Commission next Monday for approval. There probably will be some contingencies, and then October 28th would also be, that'd be the final approval by the Village Board. There's a couple items that Hector and I disagree on, and we'll have to get those ironed out, and the President is aware of those items, and the developer is aware of those items, and we're just waiting on a couple items from the developer for that the attorney would like to see in regards to the state deed and things of that nature. But again, this is just a second reading and public hearing, so it'll move forward to the 21st for Plan Commission and 28th for the Village Board.
Would I be out of line to ask them if there have been any major changes in
No, you
the
could
whole
ask.
plans?
Absolutely, you could ask.
I just wanted you to.
With it being second reading, actually, just so everybody, this would be the time for that, especially with it being second reading. We just got through the public hearing, but now it's our time. This would be the perfect time to ask that stuff.
Well, good evening. To answer your question just directly, no, there's been no major changes since what we presented previously, last being here a couple months ago. Still maintains a continuum of care type facility that includes independent living, memory care, and assisted living. 118 units in total, which breaks down 70 independent and then 20 of both memory care and assisted living. It obviously maintains the collaboration, the connectivity that we discussed with Lake Country Lutheran High School right across the street. We envision students coming over, seniors going over to the high school for events. With regards to that, we've proposed, or we've submitted, I should say, a CSM that divides into the current one lot divides into really two different lots along with an outlot. So the senior building would be placed on what will be known as lot number 2. The outlot is an additional, lot 2 is 3.76 acres. The outlot is an additional 1.77, so it's just over 5.5 acres for the 118 units. The units range from studios, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units. From an aesthetic standpoint, it's very similar to what you saw before. Very warm colors, stone on the outside, board and batten, lap siding. Very similar, connectivity and what you see across the street with the high school. We have submitted all of the full civil design set, landscaping set, lighting plan, environmental. The phase 1 was clean. We've done geotech borings on site. All of that has been submitted. We've also been able to incorporate some of the feedback from the fire chief was to, from a fire life safety standpoint, full, in case of a fire emergency, that we would have full access around the entire building. From a parking standpoint, Lower level enclosed parking is 70 stalls. There's 47 additional stalls on the surface, so it's 117 stalls in total, so right around 1.1 per unit on average. Your code would require about 89 spaces. Operator, we're getting to the final negotiations from an agreement standpoint with an operator. I can tell you it's a local operator, very, very experienced. It will be a tremendous asset to this development and the community overall. So pending approvals over the next couple of weeks, as Ryan outlined the schedule, and us obviously securing debt and equity for this project, which obviously it continues to be a challenge, especially at this size of project, but we would anticipate commencing construction early part of 2025.
Question, you said 118 units?
Correct.
On our paper, it says 120.
Yeah, that was the initial, but it is 118.
It is, okay.
That was just the initial estimate.
What was the breakdown again, 70?
70 independent living,
Uh-huh.
and then 20 memory care, and 20 assisted living.
78, Puts you in the 20. Yeah, 20, 20, and 78.
Correct. If I could do
Step up.
If I could do
Otherwise you
math,
won't
it would
catch
help. 78. Mark is right. That's why I brought him.
78 and 2020.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I will send an email to the board tomorrow with the discrepancies between the developer, the attorney, and myself. President is aware of them. I just want you all to be aware of them so we can work through them. I don't think they're unworkable, but I could be wrong.
Thank you.
So, to piggyback on what Ryan just said, and I think it's important to note this, so that everybody knows, which I think they do on the board, but I met with Ryan and the attorney, well, and we have multiple attorneys, but I met with Ryan and Attorney Delamora's office, because it's really close to where I work my normal day job, so I was able to get over there. And I just think it's important for the board to note, and I'm appreciative anytime we have attorneys that are giving their opinion, but I do want, you know, even though Ryan just said what he said, when there may be discrepancies about what certain people think has to go on, I mean, at the end of the day, it still is up to the board. Ryan's not suggesting that there's anything illegal going on or something that would be against the law. It's up to what we feel comfortable with and what we want. So even if it is an attorney, they're gonna give their advice based on what they think and what protects the village or overprotects the village, or, you know what I mean, whatever is in our absolute best interest. They're just looking out for us no matter what. You know what I mean? Kind of like a, you know, like when you have a players union or you have a union where they're gonna be going in and negotiating a contract, they're gonna be just looking out for those workers. They don't care about any other sides. They care about their workers. That's what they're supposed to represent. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that it is up to us on the board. Even if an attorney suggests something, we do have the ability to say, no, yeah, I want that. I'm glad I got that advice, or I'm okay with trusting that, or whatever. And staff will get more into that. I just wanted to say that for clarity.
And again, no approval. Everything's done. Public hearing, second reading. It'll come back to the Plan Commission next Monday, and then the village board after that. And I'll get you all those issues, items tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question, how many senior living facilities has Three Leaf developed previously?
Approximately 6. I'd have to go back and quantify and get you an exact, what's that?
What's the close one?
Evan and Oconomowoc.
Okay.
Last summer, we opened up Lumia and Mequon. So those are the two more local, but we've got some others that are in Minnesota and upper Wisconsin area.
Do some of them have pools? Just asking.
There's a pond, a retention pond you could
No, I'm
swim in.
just asking.
Ours do not. There are some that are being developed that do.
Okay.
There's one that's under construction right now specifically.
Seniors like swimming, I'm
in
just
Pewaukee.
saying.
You'll find it's a large expense for probably a very minority share of the residents.
Sentiment so far as I brought it up, so just asking.
Do you want us to add a pool?
You asked.
Give them membership to the Y.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have a conceptual review of, oh, hold on a second. Oh, now we have a conceptual review of Cherry Faith Hartland Development, which is in the packet. We have a representative here. If you'd like to step towards the podium and give a, this is conceptual, so nothing will be necessarily voted on. The board possibly would send it to the Plan Commission, or do nothing at all possibly. But you can kind of give us an idea of what you have submitted. And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the principal developer for the project. My name is Dewan Cherry. Before I go talking about the details of the project, I think it's always important to know who exactly this new coming developer is,
What was
right?
your first name? I'm sorry.
Dewan Cherry.
Dewan.
Yes.
Thank you.
I can spell that for you. D-U.
All good.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
I focus on housing, I focus on housing adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So that is my background. I attended Concordia University of Wisconsin to 2015 to 2019, or excuse me, 2015 to 2018. Then I transferred to UW Milwaukee. Throughout that time in Concordia, I was an RA, so for the Bethesda College program. Now they're called Ableite. So if you've looked them up, great organization. Throughout that time, I was incredibly inspired by what they did in the with education, but then also connecting them with outside employers. So of course, in the city of Mequon, right, there's numerous or a few grocery stores actually. So they would connect them with certain employers as well as housing as well too. So fast forward in 2022, I started my own real estate development company, and as I mentioned, that's where I focus on. It's just finding communities that need it the most, trying to find service providers. So typically that is not only your property management company, but also service providers, meaning that they're providing transportation or dropping off medication, or implementing what's called independent living skill, which is someone coming in a couple times throughout the week and just making sure that they know how to operate, for example, their stoves and their stoves and like their washer and dryer, and making sure that they know kind of the way around the building, right? And making sure that, for example, their just life routine is being consistently carried out in their life. So with this particular project, I met with Ryan and a few other gentlemen as well too, and we had talked about, initially we had came in, I believe, about 30 or 40 units. We found out that we can only do 26 since we are not doing senior housing. Senior housing we would have been able to do, I believe it was about 40 to 50, but that's just not my background. So my architect group, Ingberg and Anderson, they quickly, kind of designed what you see. I believe you have a copy on you. But we have a couple options for you to take a look at, to ask any questions, provide feedback. Obviously, that is something that I will love, is because I think at the end of the day, I don't want to build in someone's backyard and not ask for their opinion and things like that. I think it is important because that's the only thing that's going to make this development as successful as it possibly can be. But yes, at the moment, we have 26 units, 13 one-bedroom, 13 two-bedroom, so of course, half and half. On the first option, we do have a ton of parking, so we have 52 parking spots, and then 7 guest parking spots, along with garages as well too. And obviously the second one, it is designed a little bit differently. I believe the first option is more of, it is stacked, and then the second one is just all one level ultimately. So we did talk about the utility side of things, since that is kind of a big issue. But ultimately, I just want to talk about, just kind of formally introduce myself and, conceptually what I hope to bring. So of course, if there's any questions about the utility and things like that, happy to answer those questions. But just wanted to present that for today.
And that's what I want to bring up too. So one of the challenges is the middle of Palmer Drive is partially owned by the city of Delafield. It's a weird section. We've talked about that a couple times. There's sewer a couple hundred feet that would need to be ran to this parcel. So that's a couple $100,000 cost. It's no mixed use, so there's no TIF. He got our DUE fees. We're not trying to scare you. Everything's
you're totally fine.
expensive.
No, yeah,
He
you're totally
knows.
fine.
You know, and then obviously there's a desire for whoever develops there to, whether we're a helper or them to put it in, but a sidewalk down to Quick Trip and eventually get those people, you know, through our downtown. Because right now the sidewalk is going to end at the end of the quarry parcel, and hopefully one day we'll go up to Highway 83. It'd be nice to continue up towards Hill Street. But Mr. Cherry is aware of some of the challenges of the site, but ask him any questions. This is conceptual, so this would be where you guys say, hey, you're on the right track, go to the Plan Commission for a conceptual, or let them know kind of your thoughts, issues, concerns, go from there.
So this would be on the,
These are two different plans.
no, but for Palmer,
Yep.
yeah, Palmer runs, yeah, see, it curves like that.
So-
But, so we're basically talking on the west side of Palmer. On the east side of Palmer, that's all quarry.
That's Corey.
That's what I thought.
To the
I just
west
wanted
of
to
this
make sure.
development is City of Delafield, to the north is Town of Merton. So.
Is there a sidewalk there on the
There's
north side of this property, let's call it?
Palmer has no sidewalks.
Okay. So we would be talking in the sidewalk just so that we could connect the Hartland parcel?
There'd be a, yeah, we've talked about that, the desire to have, I mean, again, it doesn't have to, but.
How much farther do we have to go to get there? You don't estimate?
There was I believe, Ryan.
Yeah, and the engineer, I don't have it in
Yeah.
front of me, he gave a distance for the sewer.
One second here. Yeah, that said the sewer on Palmer can be extended up towards the development and is about 750 feet to the
Okay.
southerly driveway.
Okay,
If that's, yeah.
sure. I was just wondering.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just want, more details is always better, so that's, just wanted to regurgitate, okay.
Whoever develops that, that's probably a $250,000 cost, $200,000 cost.
Yeah.
For running utilities, sidewalk,
I'm just thinking of the sidewalk.
yeah, eventually, the road will be
I'm just thinking
repaved.
Sidewalk, I'm not thinking all of it.
Palmer Drive will be repaved in the next less than 5 years. So,
Conceptual, I mean, we do need the housing type. I mean, I know that there's a lot of, I mean, I'll tell you this right out, and I'm not saying I am, you'll get some people at your public hearing if you make it that, if it makes it, I'm just being honest with you because it is a different, people aren't used to this type of housing, but we do have a need. What are you estimating that these things are gonna come in at?
You mean a total development, or you mean?
Monthly, what are the rents?
like
gonna be?
rent.
Haven't got to that yet, just because we need to, more than anything, we need to figure out what the total, development cost would be, so
Sure,
that we can
sure.
kind of build out a pro forma on it, so.
I was
so that
just looking at
answers
the
to it,
square
but yeah.
footage, I was thinking it might
Yeah.
help keep it lower, we don't have a
And that's,
lot of that
and
type of
I'm
housing.
actually glad that because we do currently at the moment, and this is with both options, we do have, one bedroom units being at let's see here, what is it? Yeah, one bedroom units being, 650, and then two bedroom units being, 950, so.
Square footage.
Square footage.
Yes, yeah.
Plus you get the garage, but I suppose you can
Correct.
charge extra for those and that kind of
Yep.
thing, so.
I mean, at the end, my apologies.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, at the end, it is, a market rate, because when you build out your performer, you still have to put a market rate, so, I mean, and I appreciate your, sentiment on that, I am used to it, I've been in much worse situations, and feel like I know how to control a crowd at times, but I would say, for me, I think at the end of the day, I mean, if you're providing housing to the people that need it the most, right, if you wanna talk bad about it, I think that just kinda speaks to your own character.
Right.
But I totally understand though.
Yep.
You wanna protect, where you live, and you wanna make sure nothing comes from it. But like I said, part of it will just be non-ADA accessible units, and partly will be, ADA accessible units, right? So you have to count for, military people that still work in corporate offices, right? So it's one of those things where you have to kinda, put it into perspective, so,
I
but
agree.
thank you.
Say, have you done these developments?
So officially, this would be my second. So I started, the first project, scalable project, is in the village of Alloway, and that is 36 units. 12 of those units is ADA accessible, and then the rest are non-ADA accessible. Our service providers for that particular project is Innovative Service and Lakeland Care. So this would be the second.
I have no problem with the concept, it's just whether or not it's economically feasible and it fits, and we get the approval from the other municipalities.
I was thinking the same thing. I think we do have a need for housing like
Yeah,
this.
oh, for
That's-
sure.
I mean, I don't know what it would come in at. I know people pay a premium in Hartland, but to see apartments go in that might be at 1,100 or 1,000 as opposed to what we've been building, I agree with you 100%.
I can't see what else is gonna go into that property.
Right, right.
Other than.
And
other
we
than
have a
apartments.
need, a
Yes,
major need.
Yeah.
right.
So the only thing that would be, the only thing that the board could do at this time would be to say to, basically do nothing and say, oh, it's just not something we're looking for. Or to say, yeah, send it on to plan commission, where at that point, that opens up the door that he can start, or the developer.
Plan commission would be conceptual as well.
Yeah, but they can start working with staff and saying, here's
Yeah.
what we want, and that kind of thing. I think it's worth looking at, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I think there's a need, and I think, like I said, that parcel of land, I don't know what else you could do with it, so.
Wish it was like 6 or 7 stories tall. I'm kidding.
Always better to go up.
I'd make a motion that we send it to the planning commission.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to send the, at this point in time, we're calling it the Jerry
Faith of
Faith Hartland Development to Plan Commission for conceptual review.
That had a motion and a second, right?
Yep.
My comment would just be, obviously, that's not an approval. It could go to the plan commission next Monday, if you're ready, if you want to put a little bit more time with your team and come up with something. Just let Sandy and I know what you want to do, and we'll get it. Again, it would go forward to the plan commission like this, and they would give you more detailed information, and then after that, you would come back with a much more detailed plan.
Yeah, it's to gear up for that specific meeting. Is there, I guess, you just kind of.
Same thing.
Pushed it, okay, so same, okay, gotcha.
Three of the people here on that board, so.
Okay.
I think you'll want someone that they're gonna dig, once you get to plan commission, basically it stays in plan commission, but this board has the final approval.
Okay.
So that's where all the, you have a picture of a car.
Okay.
When you get to plan commission, they're gonna start asking, how strong are the bolts that you're using to put it together? And
Okay.
every single piece that's going into it, and what is this thing really gonna look like? Is the motor gonna be able to go without
Okay.
blowing out all of that?
Sounds good.
So it
Perfect.
gets really into the nuts and bolts of it.
Sounds good.
Including what shingles are you using? What are every single, architecturally, what
Okay.
things are you using on how it's going to look? What actual specific trees are you planting? I'm just saying that's where it will get all the way to.
Yeah.
that.
No,
That's-
that's very helpful. That's
Not
very
next
That's
week,
down the road,
yes.
but
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. Sounds
Next
good.
week, essentially, if you come to the plan commission, they'd say, hey, yeah, we like it, keep moving forward with it, and then you'd bring it back, and it's probably gonna be a couple months till you get kind of what you're doing.
Sounds good.
So.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. Announcements.
Hello. Has been accepting applications for our lead man position down at the DPW shop. I've just received all those applications and we'll be reviewing those and looking at those. Leaf pickup started today in the village. Get leaves out to the curb line. As of tomorrow, park facilities will be closed, except for Nixon Park, as we spoke of, because we have pumpkin party in the park this weekend. Sarah can give you the details on that.
Yes, so we do have pumpkin party in the park. I think I mentioned this at the last meeting, but this is essentially a fundraiser for the Hartland Public Library to help with the rebuild of their children's area. That should be fun. We should have the Hartland Lakeside Education Foundation is doing trunk or treat here in the library parking lot. And then we'll have games and activities in the park at Nixon, closing with I think it's Hocus Pocus that they're going to be showing in the park on Saturday night. We also have the Moonlit Hike this Friday at Cottonwood Wayside. So that starts at 6:30 and will be a hike through the Ice Age Trail. They are using the chimney there, so there'll be a nice fire up there too. Parking for that is in Dorner's parking lot. ADA parking will be available while there are spots at the Cottonwood Wayside parking lot. Additionally, I think everybody knows, but I just want to make sure everybody knows that we did hire the full-time recreation coordinator position, Heather Costa. If you don't know who Heather is, she is a familiar face in Hartland over at Piggly Wiggly. She's been there 15 years. And we are very excited to have her joining the village team.
All right, last Saturday at the Pancake Breakfast, we served 613 people. Most ever by like 113 people. So, took in close to $7,000 in the raffle prizes, and we don't charge for the breakfast. We ask for a donation. It's more of a community thing. So, we did very well with that. We have the medal for our own pancake maker, and we are working with one of the fabrication places in the industrial park to put it together for us for next year. So we should have our own at that point. I will be in Madison at a Chiefs Conference, Chiefs Education Conference until Friday, starting tomorrow night. Chief Misko and I will be touring the Village of Jackson Safety Building on the 21st. And then our reserve engine 4362 that had an accident almost a year ago is finally in the body shop getting the paint fixed and the new panels and stuff put on it. So.
All right, so Brian DeBarge has been selected as our next deputy chief, so he'll be promoted effective Ross's retirement, which will be December 13th. December 13th, we will be doing a little party for Ross right here in the village boardroom during the day. Some more information will come out on that, but just like a little luncheon. December 13th. Friday the 13th. We also are recruiting a part-time admin assistant position, that afternoon position. So if you have anyone that you think would be a good fit, please encourage them to apply. That application period closes October 25th. And then finally, our WILEAG, or Wisconsin Law Enforcement Accreditation Group assessment, is coming up. We are in 3 weeks out, so November 5th through November 7th, we will have the assessment team here going through everything at the police department, making sure we're in compliance with all of the 262 6th edition accreditation standards. That's all I got.
I just wanted to say that in talking with Andy, our director of the library, he was extremely complimentary of all the help that Leo, Tom, and Sarah have put in to make this event happen in a very short timeline. So thank you for all the time and work you've done with Andy to get this done, because I know it's a lot of extra work to get it done, and hopefully we have great weather and great attendance.
It does look like it's going to be beautiful.
Okay, we have a few announcements, but first I do want to say, having gone down to the pancake breakfast, obviously it's always a good time just to see people, you know, as an adult, but seeing all those kids go running when they heard that chopper come in was kind of, yeah, it's just always cool to see. And it was, I'm glad to hear that there was so many people that showed up and were down there. That's really awesome, and it's really great to see for our community. This coming Friday, this coming Friday is the groundbreaking for, at 3:30 is the groundbreaking for West Rock, which is the quarry development. Just letting you all know that. You can reach out to Ryan or Mr. Ford, or Mr. Ford through Ryan, if you want any more details on that. But that'll be at 3:30 for the groundbreaking for that. Voting is going on, in case anybody does not know. There is a presidential election this year for the United States president. So there is an election coming, and voting, in-person absentee voting, basically in-person voting, starts on Tuesday, the 22nd of October. That will be normal business hours that we're open until November 2nd. November 2nd, the final day, November 1st, November 1st, we will remain open until 5 p.m. The only caveat that I have for anybody that can't get here, in normal business hours, we do extend it a little bit. So each of the Wednesdays during that time frame, we will stay open until 6 p.m. so that people can get in and cast the ballot in case they weren't able to get it by mail, or, you know, just prefer to vote that way. December 8th is a Sunday? Sunday, December 8th is the holiday train. That's at 5:20 p.m. approximate time of arrival here in Hartland. I have no other announcements. But there is an election in case anybody doesn't know.
Make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn this meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This meeting's adjourned. I went to my mailbox.